So is this type of plummet so soon after going public unprecedented?
Well, it's unprecedented because these esports companies, most of them didn't exist 10 years ago, right? And very, very few have gone public before. What I do think is every company, other esports companies, has looked at FaZe and seen what happened and thought, ooh, I don't know if this is a good idea for us if we can help it. You know, if we can find another investor to come in while we're still private, get money that way. I don't think that I want to be under the same public spotlight that FaZe is under. So certainly they're setting the precedent for the rest of these other esports organizations who are in a similar spot.
Of course, yeah, they're definitely probably looking at them saying, at least they tested the waters, let's reassess here. But how are esports companies as a whole doing now?
Well, again, it's hard to say because they're private companies. I think all of them have adopted different strategies. And I think we valued the list of esports companies earlier in the year, one of my colleagues did, and what we found is the most valuable esports companies had built a lot of their business in non-esports ventures. So whether that's merchandising or, for example, one esports company got a large check from FTX. I don't know how that company is doing, you know, how they're doing with that now, but these companies were making money through non-esports means because they haven't really figured out how to make a lot of money through content revenues through esports. So it's a grab bag, but I do think that FaZe, for example, if it were to go all the way under, if it were to go away, I think it would scare a lot of these other companies.
I want to go back to that list you just talked about. FaZe was number 4 most valuable esports on the Forbes list. So is this fall surprising?
Yeah, they were, of all the teams on that list, FaZe was the most difficult one to get a valuation on because at that point they hadn't gone public. And they were telling people they were going to be worth $1 billion. We were thinking, hey, these other companies, esports companies, are like $400 million companies. So when you hear that one is more than twice as big, you're kind of skeptical about that, right? But this SPAC was supposed to come out. They were supposed to be $1 billion company. And we kind of hedged, you know, we gave our best guess based on, you know, talking to people, based on all the research. But we came down at number 4. Obviously, now that we know exactly what their market capitalization is at 150 million, you know, they would be much farther down the list or off the list. I don't know exactly what the cutoff was. But yeah, it's a lot of hot air and smoke and hype that gets pumped in before a company goes public, and then they have to start, you know, posting hard financials publicly.
Let's talk about that hype. So why is the company having trouble coming up with, as you described in your piece, a way to translate internet clout into a legitimate business?
Yeah, well, so this is the thing, is FaZe has always been the coolest kids on the internet, right? They throw these great parties, you know, they have these celebrities, they have big followings with all their people, and so the brand is just extremely cool. And when you have a lot of people who are very loyal to you, that should be very valuable. Mm-hmm. That should be a group that you can, you know, theoretically build a business off of. However, as advertisers have learned for decades, young people, you know, they don't have a lot of money, they don't want to spend money. And so being able to translate the audience that they have and the brand that they have into making lots and lots of money, at least to this point, hasn't happened.
Got it. And you also write that being a company with designs on the future and an ambitious growth strategy operating at huge losses like Netflix was some paradoxical sort of recipe for success. We saw it work for Netflix. Why not FaZe?
Well, first of all, I love hearing, you know, my own writing read back to me. That's, you know, it's making me slightly cringe. But I guess the question is whether that is working for Netflix, right? Because for the longest time, they were being rewarded for that. Mm-hmm. And then recently, that bubble kind of deflated, and they've come back down to earth. I think, you know, there was a stock market environment that allowed these tech companies with grand plans, you know, people just continued to believe on them for the future. I talked to one analyst in the field, Malf Menz, and he was saying that there was kind of a fear of missing out component to this. You know, if this is the future, FaZe has always talked about they're the future of entertainment. If this is the future, I want to be in at the ground level. You know, I want to be here, you know, investing in Amazon in the early 2000s.
Apple, yeah.
Or Apple, exactly, right? And so I think a lot of people bought in on the dream, but it was a feeling of, hey, this can only ever go up, right? Yeah. And then, as a lot of these companies have found out, now we're in a stock market environment where you need to see revenue or at least a path toward revenue. And FaZe, at least to this point, hasn't really shown it.
Matt, you're painting a pretty grim picture. So what has FaZe said about this?
Yeah, so they, first of all, they're a promotional company, as you might expect from what I'm telling you, right? They're all about promoting the brand. They say a lot of things publicly. So I assumed and hoped, that we would get them more on the record. But when it came down to it, I think that the company is right now figuring out what they need to do in the future, right? So it was very difficult for them. We did end up getting a statement from their CEO, and he's optimistic still for the future. I think that the company still believes in the long-term vision of what they can be, which is, hey, we're the future of entertainment. Mm-hmm. We still are one of the go-to sources for these hard-to-reach customers, right? These kids. And we're building a relationship that, hey, when they grow up and they maybe start having more spending power, we could be a very, very revenue positive company, right? However, it's just a matter of how long can you hold on? How long can you keep pouring in resources to a money-losing operation on this long-term dream and on this long-term vision? And I think that, again, I think their CEO, as they said, they're very optimistic about what the company can be. It's just a matter of can they survive until that comes.
I guess that's the question. What's next for FaZe? Will they survive?
I mean, if I knew the answer to that, I would be a rich man. But I think the brand itself, it's hard to see going away. Mm-hmm. They have built at least enough of a reputation at this point that even if the company were to kind of bottom all the way out, I feel like someone would buy them up and then invest more money in, or be willing to if like a very rich person bought them and then was willing to like lose money, it could happen. So I don't think FaZe is going away. I don't even think so. They said in their financial reports that they have enough money until November of next year. I mean, that's 12 months. That seems like crazy to think that they might be going out of business in 12 months. So I think that they might have a little bit longer time than that. But again, it's a matter of, is it going to turn around? If you're an investor wanting to come into this company, do I see a path where this picture could change? And that is where they have not been able to show what that could be.
Interesting. Matt Craig, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.